Is the United States residential real estate market heading for a big crash in 2021? Are property values going to go way down? If you spent time on YouTube right now and searched for 2021 real estate market crash, you'd see all sorts of results. You might actually hear some pretty convincing arguments as well. And I got sucked down that dark hole of trying to figure out what's going to happen and realized that I had better just move back and take a look at what the facts are that I have on hand regarding the current real estate market and future trends, and try to make some sense of it. Peter Can from the Wall Street Journal said that truth is attainable by laying fact upon fact. And in this video, I plan to lay a lot of facts down and give you a real feel for what the real estate market could do in 2021. In May of 2020, businesses were ravaged by the pandemic of COVID-19. As many as 25 million Americans had filed for unemployment insurance. And as you can imagine, a lot of those people struggled to make their mortgage payments. It's logical to think that a number of those homes would end up in foreclosure. Thankfully, the CARES Act gave these people a lifeline, and they were able to take advantage of what's called forbearance. So they're given not necessarily loan forgiveness, they were given the ability to not make mortgage payments, but still remain what's known as current on their loans. They were given 180 days initially, and then a second wave of forbearance was allowed in certain circumstances for up to another 180 days, giving people just about a year to either figure out how to sell their home or to figure out how to catch up on their mortgage payments. Now, as you can imagine, when forbearance period ends, there will be a number of homes that unfortunately do end up being foreclosed upon. But we need to take a look at where we are currently in the market and what the level of foreclosed homes or distressed sales are. Currently, only 1% of sales in the United States are distressed sales. Part of this is because of forbearance and the CARES Act benefits. But if you look at the peak on the left side of this chart, 35% of sales back in January of 2012 were distressed sales. Those would be short sales where the homeowner has less equity than they actually than the cost of the home, and then it would also be foreclosures that amount to that. So we take a look at that and we realize we are nowhere near the levels. I mentioned some so-called experts who have YouTube videos talking about the crash of 2021 and how property values could go down 10, 15, 20%. Real estate economists, people who are watching this all the time, are not saying that. I've got 7 top real estate economists here who see that the property values will be going up anywhere from 0.2%, which is what CoreLogic is saying, to 7% increase, which is what Zillow is saying, and a number anywhere in between. So you look at that and you say, the people who are watching this all the time and don't necessarily have a vested interest in trying to prop things up are telling us that we're still going to see appreciation in 2021. Incidentally, some of these outlets here, or economists, during the COVID outbreak in the spring, looked at 2021 and they actually saw or projected that there would be negative numbers. Interest rates are at an all-time low. There are people who are able right now to get 30-year mortgages for 2.5%, 2 3/4. It's amazing. And so this is bringing a lot of buyers out that wouldn't necessarily be avidly looking for homes right now, but they understand the opportunity, and it makes homes much more affordable for these buyers right now. Even though they have to compete, and home prices are escalating, there's actually an amazing affordability right now for these buyers. And if you look at this chart, you'll see that the higher numbers are actually the better numbers in these cases. So you can see before the crash, affordability was actually quite low. So in 2006, you've got 108 as an index number here. Right now we're at 159, substantially greater, which gives this buyer today much more affordability and makes it a much more healthy market than it was in 2006. There's another indicator to me that we are not on our way to a crash. I know these rates are being held low artificially by the Fed and by other factors that play into keeping the rates down, and that's okay. But what it says to me is that the stimulus and the government initiatives to hold these rates low will keep us from having that crash that some people are talking about. There are a couple other current market factors that play into my belief that there will not be a crash in 2021. Number one is the inventory level right now. We have 40% fewer homes on the market today than we did a year ago nationwide. That's staggering. It was already an undersupplied market at that point. Now we're desperately undersupplied, and buyers are competing for homes in most markets. Now I say in most markets because there are certain pockets around the country that are going to suffer more than others, and urban centers may end up being hotspots for more foreclosures and more difficulty because people are moving out of those areas, and property values may go down more in urban areas than they will in the suburbs and in the rural areas around the country. Ivy Zellman, who is probably the most respected economist and forecaster for the real estate space, was on a podcast that I was listening to last week. She talked about the fact that there was a 0% chance of having a foreclosure crisis in 2021. And that struck me. Yes, there are going to be more foreclosures. That's going to be natural. The CARES Act support that Forbearance gave us is going to be up in 2021 and likely not to be extended again, at least in the amounts that it was this year. But most of the homeowners that are in forbearance, and a vast majority of homeowners here in America, have much more home equity than they did in 2008. And that will give these homeowners the ability to, if they're in trouble and cannot catch up with their mortgage, they have the ability to sell their home and not be in a short sale and not be foreclosed upon. The market could use more homes. Obviously, I do not want to see people thrown from their homes and out in the street homeless, or go back to renting, or whatever it is. But I do know that we need more inventory in the market, and there's going to be something of an influx, but it should not create a crisis. And I don't see that happening. All of the numbers that I've looked at over the last few months, and more specifically in the last few days in preparation for this video, tell me that yes, we're going to have some foreclosures. No, it's not going to adversely affect the entire market. There's not a crash coming in 2021.
I bet you thought I was done. Sorry. I got a couple more slides that I thought would be really important to put into this video. So, first one is a quote from Jeff Ostrowski. He's a senior mortgage reporter at Bankrate. It says, in the first half of 2010, 1.65 million American homes went into foreclosure, according to ATTOM. In the first half of 2020, barely 165,000 loans were hit with foreclosure actions. Even if defaults rise dramatically, they'll remain well below the level seen during the mortgage meltdown. The second slide will show this graphically. So, sorry to take up more of your time, but I felt these were really important. Thanks.